Today's project will require the use of your colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a piece of white paper. Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky. I'm back with another art lesson for you, and today my kitten Toby is joining me. Today I'm wearing a shirt from a very special place that we're going to talk a bit about today. My shirt I got on my last trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's a special city that I love very much, and my family and I love to go there. Last time that I was there, I met an incredible artist, a woman who works in Puerto Vallarta and does her artwork there, and she sells it downtown in a special place called the Malecon. That's a boardwalk. It's a place where tourists and locals can walk along the waterfront. It's gorgeous. And she was selling her artwork and actually creating her art right there on the water. And I wanted to share with you. Here's a picture she let me take of the display she had. And she also took the time to explain to me her technique for creating these lovely works of art. One of the things that I love that she created in this artwork is the sense of space. And so we're going to talk about the element of art space, which we've discussed a bit before, but today we're going to take a little different approach to it. We're also going to discuss our final principle of design. We've talked about all the elements of art and all the principles of design now. So today's principle of design is unity and harmony. In unity and harmony, an artwork's pieces come together to create a complete whole that basically works together. It has unity. It seems like it is coherent, it fits together, so the elements work together in a way that they seem to fit. In this situation, we're going to be talking about how space creates a sense of unity and wholeness in this piece, how she uses the same technique on space when she creates all her different images in the city of Puerto Vallarta, that it will seem whole and unified. I wanted to take a moment and show you the actual piece of art that I purchased from the artist in Puerto Vallarta. Sadly, I did not get her name, and I was hoping that she had signed her work so I could tell you what her name was, but I can't find her name anywhere on the artwork, and I don't see it. So unfortunately, I don't know this artist's name. Sometimes that happens. Artists choose not to put their names on their artwork. She uses some sort of instrument, perhaps even a pencil, to push into the back of this thin metal. I think it's a form of aluminum, and to make the shapes, the outlines, because if you feel it, it has a texture to it actually. And then what she does is she, on the opposite side, she fills it in with a special kind of paint that sticks on metal, and it's very bright and shiny. You can see that. And she fills in all those colors, and then she does a coat on the top of it of some sort of clear coat. I'm not sure exactly what it is that gives it a nice glossy finish over everything. What we're going to study today is the use of space and how she uses space in her art. And you can demonstrate space, how things take up space, whether it's 2D or 3D in a flat piece of art, in a lot of different ways. And one of the ways she does this in this particular artwork is by how she places things on here from low to high. You notice how there's some buildings down here, but some buildings are higher. And when you do that, from something that goes from low to high, it creates a sense of distance. So the things that are down here are closer, and the things that are up here go further and further away. It's a trick of the eye. So if you want to create a sense of depth in your painting, a sense of space in your painting or your drawing, one of the things you can do is start with a certain level of things down here on the lower part of the drawing or painting. And then as you go up higher, you can make those things appear more further away. One thing to note here is that everything in this painting is the same size. Sometimes another way to show space or distance is to create smaller things that go further and further away, which makes them, appear that they're in the distance. But here, even as they go further and further away, because in this situation, the things that are higher are further away, they're still relatively the same size. These buildings are similar in size to these buildings. Here's a great example for my daughter, Grace. She did the same kind of project here where she creates a sense of space. Things down here are closer, things up higher are further away. She chose to put a road in the middle of her drawing, And up close here, we have a fence and we have a little house. But here she had a fun building. She wanted this building to be made out of Legos. My daughter Lizzie also did a city, and her city is based on a road going through it as well. Same kind of principle of space involved here. I like how she has a totem pole right here. When I did mine, I wanted to focus on my city because the artist in Puerto Vallarta drew on drew on scenes from her own city, and I chose to draw scenes from my city, and this city is Seattle. So I also chose to use a road to separate elements of my drawing. I'm going to decide from the very start where I'm going to create sky. You don't have to create sky. You can go all the way up to the top if you want, but the Puerto Vallarta artist also created an area of sky in each of her paintings. So I'm just going to sketch out this little line at the top very lightly to remind me, don't put any too much up there because that's where your sky is, okay? And then I'm going to create something to separate the space on either side. I think mine is going to be a little river. Now, I'm going to create some buildings on either side of this river. It doesn't have to be associated with any particular part of the country. My example was Seattle, but and what kind of buildings? Do you want this to be a city scene? Do you want this to be a country scene? You're just going to see the front, the facade of each of these buildings. You don't have to worry about the rest of it. So you can draw simple house shapes if you like, windows like that. So there's one house, and my houses are going to roughly be the same. Maybe I'll stagger this one up a little bit higher. This is going to be a longer house. Maybe this house will have more windows on it down low. Now I'm going to start thinking about getting that layering effect of depth. If I could put a house perhaps here, then I could give that also sense of space by doing a little bit of layering, just like the artist did in that Puerto Vallarta artwork we saw. See, just a slight amount of layering. We can tell this house is behind it. Keep working your way up the paper, because the houses towards the top are going to be the ones that are further away. Now this house can possibly go higher than that line we created, because that line just indicates where we want to make sure the sky goes. But houses here just show that they go over that horizon line, and that's okay too. Trees and stuff can go over that. You can choose a road. You don't have to have a divider down the middle of your drawing. My sky is going to be blue, but I want some clouds. So I'm going to create clouds. Now clouds are white, but notice how I outlined them in blue. I did that because the paper is the white. When you're working with colored pencils, drawing white on top of other colors is tricky. It doesn't show up very well. So that is how I'm outlining my clouds. First I draw the clouds with blue outlines, and then I just color everything else. And it's okay if you go over the lines a little bit, because clouds don't necessarily have perfectly defined borders. So if I kind of smudge around there, it makes it look even more like a cloud. So now all the houses get some grass. Then color in all the houses, whatever colors you want. Color harder to get bolder color houses, and more lightly to have lightly colored houses. You can choose colorful roofs, or here I chose to stick with pretty traditional black roofs all over the place, and but lots of different colors for my houses. I just make the windows have a light blue, not all the way, but a little bit. Kind of reflect the sky, white and blue. It's done? No, it's not done. We need trees. What kind of trees? Well, I do a lot of evergreen trees typically. Let's do something different. Let's do beautiful deciduous trees, but there's just mine are going to be green circles with round trunks. And here's the final product. Toby and I enjoyed doing art with you today. Thanks for joining us. I'd love to see your artwork. Please take a moment and share it with me.